Yes, I'm trying to, again, make full screen. Is it full screen now? Can you see it, my presentation?
We can see it, yes.
Yes.
Yes, so as Barbara already said, in the previous panel, we planned a project overview, but we thought that it's more valuable for you to have questions for the Estonian case and have more discussion on that. But I will walk you through briefly what we have done so far. So the WORKPRIS project is a 1-year Erasmus Plus funded project that we have started a year ago. So this is, as you know, the final seminar, and we are validating our results. We have studied the project with a mapping that I will present shortly. That was the base of developing our tools, or these results that you're going to see here. So the mapping was done in 5 languages through a survey and some expert interviews. It was done in German, English, Slovakian, Czech, and Slovenian. We had professionals answering from 17 European countries. The numbers are quite unequal, so this is not a representative research in a sense, that more like an impression of professionals and input of professionals from these respective countries. They were coming from many backgrounds, including prison services, different types of NGOs and government-related offices as well. What we were interested in mainly, whether in these countries there are existing cooperation between third sector organizations. I know it's from country to country. These types of classification for non-profit organizations are different, but we use TSOs in a sense that they are not governmental or organizations, so they're not for profit. But most of the cases, these were NGOs. We were also asking questions whether a prison service and NGO or TSO corporations were regulated by laws or bilateral agreements. We were asking about experiences of such collaborations, difficulties, good examples, and what professionals saw as space for improvement. We were asking, did a quantitative analysis as well as a qualitative one. We were also asking questions about what support respondents saw as for TSOs and prison services, about what services the respondents currently providing and what they see missing, and how they managed difficulties or challenges. About the respondents, so most of the respondents had a TSO background, so it was like 2/3 of the respondents came from that sector, and 1/3 came from prison services. As for the service that the respondents were included providing with were vocational or educational training, reintegration services, advocacy and awareness raising, legal security, complaint management, and staff representation. The most common answers for room for improvement in relation to prison service NGO collaboration. What was highlighted was building stronger relationships with TSO's employees, having regular meetings between prison services and, again, NGO staff. Resources came up quite often, as we all know that this is something that really a scarcity in so many countries. dedicated spaces and facilities were quite often missing for such services to be provided sufficiently in prison services. And a few quotes from the respondents were like more flexible communication, funding, and resocialization programs from state budget would be quite essential. Formal contracts and cooperation frameworks were quite often either missing or just not implemented. Lower bureaucratic hurdles for TSOs to access prison services would be also quite helpful in terms of supporting cooperation. When it came from services needed in prisons, addiction and substance abuse came up quite often. Educational program, vocational training, family and relationship support, legal and advocacy support. Again, a couple of quotes on this. Legal advice, ideally with the possibility of supervision for professional staff as well, so both TSO workers and prison services legal advice would be highlighted as being useful. Soft skills tailored to specific groups of incarcerated individuals were quite often in high demand. In terms of skills and competencies, the most frequently highlighted skills for TSO staff working with prison services, and in terms of training lacking on this, problem solving and critical thinking, effective communication, boundary setting and conflict resolution and de-escalation were mentioned to be really important for people working in prisons and providing services. As for common difficulties in these countries that the respondents came from were security and access issues, bureaucratic and administrative challenges, communication and coordination issues. As for personal quotes, easier access, better communication, cooperation with prison staff came up quite often. So just a quick look at the backgrounds of the respondents. Those who had a TSO background, like most of the people came from mental health backgrounds, providing services on education, restorative justice practices, health support, family support. As for the prison staff who answered the questionnaire, most of them came from providing education, or they were social workers, occasionally governors and head of prison departments as well. So in the qualitative analysis, we were highlighting some topics and issues that were coming up regularly. Trust was most mentioned a lot on the positive and the negative sides as well. In terms of trust is very key in such cooperations between prison services and TSOs. If trust is not present, then the cooperation is hurdled. Quite often, partnerships are and were as more between individuals from prison services and the NGO staff rather than institutional partnerships, which again highlighted as a positive thing, supporting these collaborations. But then again, if it was individual, then it could also put difficulties as well in these relationships. Training and professional development for TSOs entering prison services is quite often missing. So this was the idea for this program, the WORKPRIS project, that to look at what would be needed and what would be useful for TSOs as well as for prison services to support services provided. So this was the first step of the project, and we built on these results later when we have an in-person workshop in June with the participation of prison staff, also TSO workers and educators, researchers. And so building on the results of this mapping, on this workshop with the participants, we have drafted up a workshop outline as well as a skill and competency framework. And then we built on that. I would suggest that I either you ask questions now, or I can briefly walk you through the workshop outline that is based on this mapping and then the in-person workshop that we did in June. Do you have any questions at this point? Yes. So you have received this material, which is very long, but the hope is that you will find it useful, and then you can give us some feedback of what you think of it, because the purpose was that we provide a tool that can be adapted to certain country and collaboration context. So this is the main result of this project. There is, so it's kind of a curriculum or training material that TSOs as well as prison staff can use for support their collaboration working with incarcerated people. So there is a workshop outline. We identified the two main groups. So one of them being the third sector organization workers, the other one being the prison staff. So the objective is to provide a skeleton that you can fill up with your with knowledge and frameworks that are relevant to your country in terms of, for example, regulations and laws, and there are more broad or more focused aspects of that. We have also developed skills and competency framework that my colleague Daniel will present shortly after this, and we have an access that you can also use for the training, including evaluation of such workshops and asking feedback from participants. There is a material on scenario-based learning that you can use for exercising real-life scenarios that TSO workers can experience when they start working in a prison context. And we have resources and study materials as well, so you can lean back for more general frameworks and background material. We have developed a 5-day version and a 3-day version for these trainings. But also I think and I'm really interested in your input on whether this is realistic, useful, or if you can imagine adapting it to your context. I also know that time is really a shortage with all of your work. So I would like to just get feedback at the end of this session or the discussions afterwards. And of course, if you have later after the workshop more reflections on these, that would be quite useful for us. So the workshop outline is one of the main results and the core of this material. And then Daniel will now present the skill and competency framework.
So let me introduce you to the WORKPRIS competency framework developed for TSO professionals, which are entering or already working in prisons. This framework should help define the essential skills, knowledge, and attitudes needed to build effective rights-based cooperation with prison services and within prisons, and was the main source for development of the workshop's outline. Background and purpose, it was broadly mentioned here already, so I won't go into much details. The project is EU funded, and it's in the framework of the project, which is to respond to current labor market and human rights priorities, to support vocational education and training for third sector organizations and its workers who are entering prison system, and strengthening the collaboration between TSOs, which, as was mentioned, are mainly NGOs, and prison systems. How it was developed, again, it was already mentioned in more specifications here. We used the mapping surveys, which included inputs and feedback from experts from 17 European countries. Also expert consultations from people and mentors and lecturers working from TSOs working in prisons with prisoners and prison service, and also prison staff and prison experts and executives. And also through webinars and workshops we did already in this project, which were already mentioned. Again, purpose of the skill and competency framework, the main goal was to clarify what is actually expected from TSO workers in prison settings. We not only focused on what the prison staff or prisons means, but also what really the workers of TSOs and their experience, or even lack of experience, requires, what they think, and we put this all together to prepare the workshop outline, to firstly define the skills and competencies that are needed, and on that we built the workshop outline. Now we are getting to 5 core competencies for TSO staff, for people from third sector organizations which are entering the prisons. And these are the 5, which are providing social support and assistance, legal and regulatory compliance, facilitating reintegration measures, building cooperations and networks, and professional ethics and resilience. These 5 competencies summarize what a TSO professional needs to know and manage to succeed in correctional work, from direct social support and legal awareness to cooperation and personal resilience. The first competency is the foundation of TSO work, supporting incarcerated people and their families. It combines professional social work methods with deep respect for human dignity and greatly supports their will of reintegration, which especially we have great experience with, since it gives them more sense and more focus on really staying not incarcerated, not reoffending. In each competencies, we also defined what knowledge, skills, and attitudes defines and supports this, which are in this case social services, family and community resources. In skills, it's case management, advocacy, guidance, and trust building. And in attitudes, it of course empathy, respect for dignity, and social justice. Competencies 2 and 3 which are legal and regulatory compliance and facilitating reintegrations, often overlap. We ensure our support complies with legal standards, while also we are promoting rehabilitation and reintegration through reskilling and sense of self-worth and usefulness. Motivation, examples of successful peers, and hope are key tools here. We, in our practice, for example, like to utilize people who was incarcerated and successfully reintegrated, because in our experience, when these people are lecturers or mentors and they are their peers and they set the good example, they not only set the good example and show them that they really can do this too, but also in the terms of prison culture, they have better status than people who weren't incarcerated. The prisoners often better reacts, listens, and take advice from people who were in the same situation and even sentences. Other two competencies, the last two from the 5 core competencies defined also with missions and goals of TSO workers, are building cooperation and networks and professional ethics and resilience. Those are what make long-term impact possible. TSO staff must be the bridge builders, confident, ethical, and emotionally balanced. Cooperation and networks mainly entitles like work with prisons, municipalities, other NGOs, employers, which also we in our practice use, and it's really crucial to helping prisoners or incarcerated people to get back to society, to reintegrate and get work. Foster trust and shared responsibility, and in the professional ethic and resilience is mainly maintaining boundaries, manage stress, and practice self-care. Also act with professionalism and empathy. With the framework, it's not carved in stone, as I would say. As you can see, we suggest to follow these steps, which we summarized also in the document Gabi was already showing you and we sent you beforehand. And it's when we are using the competencies for preparing yourself or other professionals entering prisons, it's a living tool. The idea behind this guide in the five points is to revisit it regularly, reflect and adjust for your professional development as your own experience grows. These steps are to identify key competencies relevant to your role, reflect on strengths and areas for your own development or your frequentance, engage in training and supervision, apply and integrate learning in practice, and use the competency list as a living tool and evolving, as I already mentioned. The final message. Professional competence builds trust, and trust builds rehabilitation, which is motto of our lecturers and mentors who often work and support incarcerated people. In summary, the framework isn't just about skills, it's about building trust. That's what we want to stress. Responsibility and collaboration within and building the networks. And that's what we believe if all are on the same boat, on the same mission, that's when rehabilitation and reintegration is truly possible and really effective. Thank you for your attention. This is my name and our organization, also my email if you want to contact us or ask anything or We are based in Czech Republic and work in almost 30, I think 30. I'm not sure about actual numbers, from 31 to 36 prisons in Czech Republic, where we already work with incarcerated people and cooperate with prison services. So thank you for your attention.